My sister-in-law took the names of all my miscarried babies for her own kids, then went as far as poisoning my prenatal vitamins to cause another miscarriage. She really believes I won't destroy her life over this. The first cut was the shallowest, but it bled the most. Her name was Faye. I had whispered it to my husband in the dark, a secret shared on a pillow, a promise to a daughter who would never take a breath. I had, in a moment of fragile, grieving hope, also whispered it to my sister-in-law, Sarah. 2 weeks later, at her baby shower, surrounded by pink balloons and the cloying sweetness of cupcakes, she made her announcement. Everyone, we finally decided. Our little princess will be named Faye. The room erupted in applause. My own breath solidified in my lungs, a sharp, cold stone. I looked at my husband, Mark, his face a placid mask of brotherly pride. He didn't see the world tilting on its axis. He didn't feel the phantom kick in my own empty womb. I found her later, cooing over a tiny, lace-trimmed dress. Sarah! Faye! That was our name. Her smile didn't falter. It widened, a predator's grin. Oh, Emma, don't be silly. It's not like you were going to use it. She patted my arm, a condescending gesture that felt like a brand. Think of it as a tribute. The car ride home was a tomb. Mark, did you hear her? She stole Faye's name. He kept his eyes on the road. Honey, it's a name. She probably just liked it. You know how she is. Impulsive. Impulsive? That was calculated. I told her that name in confidence. That's just how she is, he sighed, the mantra of a scapegoat son, the peacemaker who only knew how to surrender. He was the kind of man who, if mugged, would apologize for not having more cash. His family's dynamic was a cage he'd been born inside, and he'd long since stopped rattling the bars. So I swallowed the bile. I told myself my daughter's name would live on in a cousin, a twisted form of legacy. I buried my grief in Pilates and green smoothies, in temperature charts and ovulation kits, a healthy Pilates princess desperately trying to coax life from a body that felt like a traitor. 1.5 years later, my body betrayed me again. James. Another son, born too soon, buried too soon. The grief was a familiar, suffocating blanket. Weeks after that loss, numb and automated, I was standing in the fluorescent glare of a Walgreens aisle when I saw it on my phone. Sarah's post. A picture of her second son, swaddled in blue. The caption, "Welcome, baby James. Thanks to Emma for the name inspiration. Her loss is my gain," winking face skull. The pregnant emoji. The skull. The world didn't just tilt, it shattered. I leaned against a shelf of cough syrup, my vision spotting. This wasn't a tribute. This was a trophy. When she stole the third name, Charlotte, I was beyond pain. I was a ghost. She would text me nursery photos, a pristine, untouched haven of white furniture and stuffed animals. Bet you wish this could be for your Charlotte, the message would read. My husband, when I showed him, just frowned. She's just bad with words, Em. It's just a name. It's just a photo. For 4 years, the hope inside me curdled into a hard, bitter knot. I stopped hoping. I simply endured. And Sarah, fertile and vicious, grew her brood. At a family dinner, heavily pregnant with her fourth, she held court. So many great names out there, she mused, her eyes flicking to me. I wonder which one I should use next? The family laughed, a warm, inclusive sound that excluded only me. Mark, sitting beside me, stayed silent, cutting his steak with intense focus. That night, something broke. Not with a scream, but with a chilling, crystalline snap deep in my soul. If she wanted another name, I would give her one she would never, ever forget. I became an architect of ruin. I waited for the next family gathering, and in a masterful performance, I broke down. I pulled Sarah aside, my voice a tremulous whisper. Through manufactured tears, I told her a story of discovering my late mother's diary. A secret, a hidden middle name from a forgotten branch of the family. Lexitiva, I breathed. It means sacred child in an ancient dialect. I had done my homework. I created fake, aged diary pages using tea stains and a careful hand. I showed her a meticulously curated Pinterest board about honoring deceased grandparents through unique names. Her eyes, always hungry, gleamed with avarice. She took the name and ran with it. For 8 months, Lexitiva Rose was all she could talk about. Her mommy blog followers ate it up. She gave speeches about uncovering our family's hidden history. I watched her preen, satisfied that this private joke, this landmine of a name, was enough. Then, the universe threw me a miracle. A curveball of hope. I was pregnant. And this time, the pregnancy held. We passed the first trimester, then the second. We were cautious, superstitious. We told no one. We wanted to be sure. The same week, we hit the relative safety of the third trimester. The text came. Sarah's baby shower invitation. A plan, sweeter and more vicious than my first, bloomed in my mind. I wore a flowing, empire-waisted dress that hid the evidence. Mark, finally seeing the years of cruelty for what they were, supported me without question. The shower was a spectacle of pastels and privilege. Sarah was holding court, midway through her speech about the sacred origins of Lexitiva. I stood up. The room, buzzing with chatter, fell silent. Actually, Sarah, I said, my voice clear and steady, I have something to share, too. I smoothed my hands over the fabric of my dress, outlining the hard, round truth of my belly. The room gasped as one. Sarah's jaw hung slack. My mother-in-law's champagne flute slipped from her fingers, shattering on the floor. 29 weeks today, I announced, cradling the life within me. We wanted to be sure this time. The room erupted. Congratulatory screams, hugs, a tidal wave of shock and joy. Sarah's face cycled from confusion to dawning horror. That's when my saint of a husband, Mark, stood. He raised a hand, the picture of innocent curiosity. Sarah, you were saying something about Lexitiva? About all that research you did? Sarah, flustered, stammered. Yes, it means sacred child in ancient. That's so weird, he interrupted, pulling out his phone with a theatrical frown. Because when I Google Lexitiva, all I get are medical websites about constipation relief. The silence this time was absolute. I pressed my lips together, holding in a laugh that was half sob. We walked out of that room, hand in hand, leaving a wake of devastating silence behind us. It was the proudest moment of our lives. The fall was as swift as it was brutal. At 4 a.m., a pain I knew too well tore me from sleep. A pain that spoke of endings, not beginnings. We rushed to the hospital, but I already knew. My body had once again become a tomb. In the crushing, gray days that followed, a cold clarity settled over me. My nighttime prenatal gummies. The bottle felt lighter. I mentioned it to the police, but the bottle had mysteriously vanished from our bathroom. The hospital toxicology report was inconclusive. Whatever had been used was untraceable or had metabolized. It was Mark who found it. He sat on the edge of our bed, holding the empty vitamin bottle we discovered hidden in the kitchen trash bin outside. His hands shook as he turned it over and over. She was here, he whispered, his voice ragged. 2 days before. She said she wanted to help organize the nursery. The scales fell from his eyes. The years of defense, of excuses, crumbled into dust. He saw his sister, finally, for the monster she was. My grief hardened into a cold, focused rage. I started documenting everything. Every text, every blog post, every veiled comment. My laptop became my war room. I saw a pattern emerge, a spiderweb of malice I'd been too heartbroken to fully comprehend. 3 weeks later, I found the thread. Sarah's best friend, Catherine, worked at the pharmacy where I filled all my prescriptions. I remembered their whispered giggles at family events, Catherine's overly interested questions about my fertility treatments. I drove to the pharmacy during her shift. She saw me and tried to flee, but I cornered her near the vitamin aisle. The prenatal vitamins, Catherine. What did you switch them with? Her face went parchment white. I don't know what you're talking about, she stammered, but her trembling hands betrayed her. That evening, Sarah's blog featured a post about toxic family members and false accusations. Her digital hounds were unleashed. My social media was flooded with hate, jealous, delusional, attention-seeking. My phone buzzed incessantly, a hornet's nest of venom. Mark deleted his accounts after the mob turned on him. We sat in our living room, curtains drawn, prisoners in our own home. I'm sorry, he kept saying, his voice hollow. For all of it. For every time I didn't see. For every time I asked you to be the bigger person. The next family dinner was at Sarah's house. We went, against every instinct, swayed by my mother-in-law's tearful plea not to let a misunderstanding tear the family apart. Sarah had positioned baby Lexitiva's bassinet as the room's centerpiece. That cursed name, embroidered on a blanket, mocked me with every glance. Her comments were barbed. Some people just can't handle other people's happiness. During dinner, she excused herself to feed the baby. Her laptop glowed on the kitchen counter. Drawn by a force I didn't understand, I walked over, pretending to get water. The browser was open to her email. My heart hammered against my ribs as I saw the subject lines. Fertility herbs, natural miscarriage remedies. My hands shook as I took photos of a screen with my phone. What are you doing? Her voice was a whip crack. I spun around. She lunged for my phone, her nails digging into my wrists like talons. We struggled, a silent, furious dance in her kitchen. Give it to me, she hissed. Mark rushed in. For the first time, he saw the mask off completely. Her face was a grotesque mask of rage, her eyes wild. She's trying to steal my phone. Sarah's voice instantly morphed into a wounded wail. She's gone crazy, just like I told you. But Mark had seen the scratches on my arm, the feral truth in his sister's eyes. He stepped between us. We're leaving, he said, his voice low and final. Sarah's tears vanished. Fine. Run away like always. But everyone's going to know the truth about her. The next morning, her blog featured a long post about mentally unstable family members. She claimed I'd attacked her, even posting a photo of a faint bruise on her arm. I'd never touched her. Her followers rallied. Hashtag Justice for Sarah trended in her little corner of the internet. My mother-in-law called. You need to apologize, Emma. This has gone too far. She poisoned my baby. I shouted, the words tearing from my throat. Don't be ridiculous, she snapped. Sarah would never. You're having a breakdown. Get help. Mark took the phone. Mom, you didn't see what happened. Oh, please, she scoffed. You always take her side now. Sarah sent me the security footage. It clearly shows Emma snooping. My heart plummeted. Of course. She had edited the footage. The war escalated. Sarah filed a report with Child Protective Services, having discovered we'd started the adoption process. A social worker came to our house, professional but clearly influenced by the concerned calls and emails from Sarah's followers. Our adoption was put on hold. Then came the fake medical records. Someone had hacked the hospital system and added entries showing psychiatric hospitalizations for me, complete with diagnoses of delusional disorder. It took 2 weeks of frantic effort to have them exposed as fraud. Sarah created fake social media accounts in my name, posting deranged rants. She sent anonymous tips to my employer. I was effectively suspended. The breaking point, and the turning point, came from an unexpected source. Sarah's 8-year-old daughter, Faye, called us one evening, her voice small and scared. And Emma, Mommy makes us lie about you. She practices with us. Says we have to tell people you're mean and you scare us. I don't want to anymore. We recorded her confession. But Sarah found out and accused me of manipulating her children. Her followers posted my work address. Protesters showed up with signs calling me a baby killer. My career was in ashes. Catherine, the pharmacist, called me, her voice a terrified whisper. Meet me. Alone. In a deserted park, she confessed. Sarah made me switch the vitamins. She had dirt on me. I was skimming anxiety meds. She threatened to report me. Catherine's eyes darted around. She's not done. She's been stealing your mail. She has all your adoption paperwork. We installed security cameras. Changed the locks. Got a P.O. box. We were fortifying our lives. Sarah's final, unforgivable strike came at Thanksgiving. She stood, clinking her glass, her hand on her stomach. We're expecting again. And if it's a girl, we're naming her Margaret. After Emma's dear departed mother. The room spun. My mother's name. The last sacred thing. I stood, my chair clattering backward. You wouldn't dare. Why not? She smiled, pure venom. It's a beautiful name. Someone should use it, since you clearly can't. The room erupted into chaos. In the melee, Sarah grabbed her phone and started live streaming. Oh, Emma, she called out sweetly over the din, you might want to check with the adoption agency. I heard they received some very interesting information about your mental health. We left to the sound of her triumphant vitriol. The message from our caseworker was waiting on our machine. They needed to investigate new claims. I collapsed on the floor, sobbing. She was systematically destroying every path to motherhood I had. My husband, my beautiful, passive husband, had finally had enough. He bought a hidden camera. He started recording every interaction. We were done playing defense. The truth finally came crashing down during a family meeting we called. We presented our evidence. The journal entries Sarah's soon-to-be ex-husband had given us, detailing her plots, her poisoning of her mother-in-law's cat, her glee at my miscarriages, the photos from her computer, Faye's recorded confession. Sarah's facade crumbled in real time. She screamed. She denied. She raged. She called everyone liars. She grabbed a vase and shattered it against the wall. "You want to destroy me," she shrieked at me. "You barren witch. You'll never have what I have. Never." Her son James started to cry. "Mom, stop. You're scaring us." But she was beyond reason. She lunged at me, claws out. As my husband and hers pulled her away, she screamed the words that would seal her fate. "I should have used something stronger in those vitamins. I should have made sure you could never even try again." The room froze. The confession hung in the air, stark and undeniable. My father-in-law's voice was like ice. "Get out of my house. Don't come back." Sarah looked at her children, her husband, her family. All of them looked back with horror and revulsion. "Fine," she spat, "but I'm taking my children." "No," her husband said, his voice firm for the first time. "You're not. Kids, come here." All 4 children ran to their father. Sarah stood alone, finally facing the consequences of a lifetime of cruelty. She slammed the door on her old life. In the aftermath, Catherine, terrified of prosecution, came forward with a full confession, providing receipts and texts. Sarah's husband filed for full custody and a restraining order. Her mommy blog imploded when excerpts of her journal were leaked. 3 months later, Mark and I stood in a courthouse, finalizing the adoption of newborn twins. We named them Charlotte and James, reclaiming what was ours. As we signed the papers, I felt a peace I thought I'd never know. But Sarah wasn't finished. As we took photos on the courthouse steps, I saw her across the street, watching. She began a new, more desperate campaign of harassment. Fake profiles, showing up at our grocery store, sending threatening letters disguised as peace offerings. She managed to get hired at a daycare using her maiden name, a violation that added to her charges. She represented herself at hearings, rambling and unhinged. She was eventually arrested after confessing to multiple restraining order violations on camera right in front of us. "Enjoy them while you can," she'd hissed, looking at the twins in their car seats. "I know which formula you buy. I know where you walk." Bail was revoked. She would await trial in jail. We settled into a fragile peace. The twins grew. My mother-in-law apologized, her grief a tangible thing. "I failed her," she'd whisper. "No," Mark would say gently. She made her choices. 5 months into her incarceration, we got the news. Sarah was pregnant. She gave birth to a baby girl in prison. And with one last spiteful act, she named her Emma. Child Services took the baby. The social worker called us. Sarah's baby needed a permanent home. Would we consider it? We looked at our twins, at our hard-won happiness. It was an impossible question. Could we raise her child? Could we look at her and not see the woman who had destroyed so much? In the end, love and a profound sense of justice won. Baby Emma joined our family. We kept her first name, but gave her a new middle name. Hope. Sarah was found guilty on all counts. Her confession on the stand was the final nail. She was sentenced to 15 years. We drove home from the sentencing to our 3 children. Charlotte, James, and little Emma. Our messy, beautiful, complicated family, built not from easy love, but from the ashes of cruelty, forged in resilience, and chosen every single day. The past was a ghost we had laid to rest. The present was spilled cereal, lost shoes, and the sound of 3 children laughing in the yard. It was messy. It was ordinary. It was everything she tried to steal, and everything we had fought to keep. And it was ours.